So, federal agents recently shot and killed a U.S. citizen in Minneapolis at another protest. It was 37-year-old Alex Pretti. And as usual, the video evidence contradicts some official claims by the mainstream media. So I'm here to cover that. And I just really want to know, why does this keep happening? Let's take a look at what was going on. So this is kind of after the incident occurred. He's there on the ground. So they kind of get worried, and then, yeah, he gets shot. So a lot of gunshots, obviously. There was probably at least 10 there. So the mainstream media would portray this as, oh, innocent, but I'm not so convinced. I've seen a couple things on this, and I want to talk about it. A lot of people are saying, I mean, he was registered to have a gun and did have a gun on him. So people are speculating that he was reaching for his gun after this happened. He was originally standing in the middle of the road, blocking people. They told him to get away. I saw other videos where there was some. So yeah, I think it's right around there. I think maybe on the other side of his body is where it was. I'll show something else that kind of highlights that here in a second. And then, yeah, first shot right there. And then yeah. That's crazy. Some crazy Karen screaming in the background as usual. Because what would a protest be without a crazy, raging Karen? But, yeah.
For the Veterans Administration, and there's no evidence that
The
he
Secretary
planted the gun whatsoever.
Scott Bessent.
But he brought
was
a
disarmed
gun.
before
He brought a gun. Have you ever gone to a protest,
I
Jonathan?
mean, we do have a Second Amendment in this country that.
Jonathan, have you ever
Yeah.
gone to a protest?
I mean,
Have you gone to a protest?
I mean, I no.
They always try to dodge the question, bro. Like, just answer the question.
Actually, as a reporter covering it.
Okay, I've been to a protest.
Yeah.
Guess what? I didn't bring a gun. I brought a billboard.
Okay, Secretary Bessent, thank you
Fair.
for the.
So yeah, this kind of talks about who he was. Alex Pretti, 37, South Minneapolis. U.S. citizen, legally owned a gun, crossed paths with ICE during an operation. Agents say he approached them armed and wouldn't comply. So, yeah, and then everyone freaked out. They started spazzing after this, of course, because that's always what happens. So here's another video that just is kind of highlights some stupidity in my opinion, but yeah, let's watch this.
We are heartbroken and angry, and we can't sit anywhere but here because we have to stand up for everyone, including ourselves, by being here. It just feels like they're murdering the most peaceful people we have.
Sure about that? Sure about that's why? Because I don't think that's what's going on.
Out on the street,
The most peaceful.
young and trying
Don't know
to
about
protect
that.
other people, and they come in and
Nah.
murder them, and that feels terrifying.
And it's, what is it? What have I been saying? It's always the same thing. It's some white liberal Karen trying to skew things, and it just injected into the mix and fucking everything up. That's what it always is.
And it feels
Always.
like the only hope we have is to show up here.
And you can show up peacefully on the sideline, not blocking roads, resisting armed officers. You know, you could do things. There's a right and a wrong way to do things.
We are
And you seem to continue to do things the wrong way. Yeah, they're murdering the most peaceful people. That's, I'll watch that in a second, but let's see. Murdering the most peaceful people, huh? Yeah, peaceful, right? Real peaceful. Everyone's out in the middle of the road, kicking shit, throwing shit, resisting. Peaceful. Yeah. Now, somebody might watch this and be like, well, those are the agent. The agents are doing all that. They did nothing wrong. They did nothing wrong. Blah, 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 this and that. Well, let's look at this. Yeah, death to America, kill ICE. Nothing wrong, right? When these agents see stuff like this, they know what they're up against. Put it that way. They know what they're up against when this is the type of rioting that's going on in Minneapolis that they see. So, yeah, I think they have a right to be on edge and worried about it. But
woman with the car, that
this
Renee
is another
Good.
video of
I think that like it was much
Asmongold.
more ambiguous. I think that it's very obvious that if you're shooting an unarmed man whenever they're being restrained by 6 other people or 7 other people, very, very clearly your life was not in danger. You're not defending yourself from a deadly threat. This person's unarmed, and that's it. There's literally no excuse for it.
And I agree with that. If someone's unarmed, not trying to run somebody over, not trying to shoot some, if they're literally just there, you shouldn't be standing in the middle of the road. I mean, it's illegal to block traffic and block agents like that. But if you're on the sideline and you're saying, then yeah, I 100% agree with this. You can't, like, if one of the agents shoots you for that, obviously that is completely wrong. But if you're trying to run them over or you do have a gun and you reach for your gun, well, it's not the right move.
And I'm a big supporter of ICE. I think ICE is great. I think they should
Same.
deport every single illegal alien in the country.
Me too.
All that being said, you can't have ICE because I'm a supporter of ICE. That means that I need to have accountability for ICE.
Yeah, I
And
agree
let me
with
explain
that.
what I mean by that.
Yeah, you can't let them roam around unhinged and do whatever they want. There still has to be some order to everything. And that's why we have standards and guidelines to follow.
If you have
Laws.
a police department that's not accountable or a law enforcement agency that's not accountable, that basically is the Gestapo. That is the secret police. That is
exactly.
the SS. What Gestapo was, right, is you had no recourse. They had no accountability. There was nothing that happened to them if they did something wrong. They could kill you for whatever reason they wanted. And you have to have laws that make police accountable, because that's the other big component. Anyone with a concealed carry knows you should always comply with police, announce your weapon, and de-escalate all potentially dangerous situations, at least in my state. The guy intentionally gets in the way and involved in an escalating situation. Absolutely retarded behavior from a concealed carrier. I think.
Yeah, he absolutely should have announced that he had one. They clearly saw that he had one on him. So you have to announce that. And don't be in the freaking middle. That's the thing that gets me every time, is that they're always in the middle of the road. They're always resisting. And it's like, dude, if you want to be out there, I personally think it's kind of stupid, but if you want to, whatever, be out there. Be on the fucking sidewalk away from them trying to do what they're trying to do. Don't get in their way. Don't be running up to them, fucking screaming in their face, blowing the stupid whistles. That's another thing. There's always the stupid whistle going on in the background. It's like, come on.
I think you're totally right. I do. I think you're completely right. I think this is absolutely fucking retarded to do. And at the end of the day, if he had complied with the police, if he didn't have the gun with him, like, there is a much higher probability that he wouldn't have been shot.
Exactly.
There is.
100%.
Like, it's undeniable this is the case. And I feel like that nuance is constantly lost, because you can easily come to the conclusion that maybe the way that they shot him was wrong. And based off of everything that I've seen, I'm pretty certain that they fucked up. I am. This seems pretty cut and dried that they fucked up. Now, I'm not, we need to wait for the body cam, and that way we'll really know. But right now, it sure seems like they fucked up. But it would have never happened if he didn't do that. That's true.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, that's what they're saying. It's the gun is I saw like a P32 or something. I can't remember exactly. P320, something like that, which is what this is. And this was on his body at the time. So it looks very similar, but it's kind of hard to tell. So there will be more uncovering of this as we go on, but it looks similar. And I mean, yeah, if the guy was unarmed and this had, for sure, ICE needs to be held accountable. Whoever did that needs to be locked up 100%. but you can't just go around doing whatever you want. Where was the other one? Shit. This. Why do they keep protesting if they know it's going to happen? Let's see. Yeah. And lastly, this is from Deputy AG Todd Blanche. Let's see what he has to say.
We have these problems. Conversations. I'm very confused about why the conversation is about what you're talking about instead of focusing on what really matters, which is why in one city, in one place do we have these problems. We deport 10 times the number of illegal aliens out of Texas than we do out of Minneapolis. Why do we hear nothing out of Texas about any of the same problems that we have in Minneapolis?
Because people in Texas aren't retards and they comply with the agents. And they don't get in their way. They don't block the streets. They don't resist agents doing what they're there to do. They comply. And that's the difference. And then also, the head of the state doesn't fuel the fire, basically. And at the very least, doesn't, like, tries to put it out. You know what I mean? Like, Tim Walz has said nothing about any of this. He doesn't say, you know, be peaceful, get out of the way, stop resisting. He doesn't ever tell them to do any of those things. He never tells them to stop resisting, at the very least. Like, dude, come on, you're fueling this fire. And it's ridiculous. Like, the Insurrection Act has to be placed upon them. It needs to come out. It needs to be enforced. Because this is starting to get ridiculous at this point. These people need to be held accountable. And, you know, I generally support ICE, what they're doing. But if they come to find out that Alex Pretti guy was unarmed and that ICE agent shot, you know, obviously they shot him, then yeah, that guy needs to be locked up, the ICE agent, for sure. You can't go around doing that. There needs to be some accountability, but it needs to be across the board. Tim Walz needs to hold his people in his state accountable. Like this guy's from Texas, way closer to the border, and way more deportations out of there, and you don't see any of this shit happening in Texas. Why? Because he cooperates with the federal law enforcement, and it's smooth sailing. That's why. You can't go around causing problems, interrupting, getting in the way of everything. It's going to lead to poor results, as we've seen.
I'll tell you why.
So obvious.
Because in Texas, we have the cooperation and support of local law enforcement so that we can do these operations safely, keeping U.S. citizens and others protected and safe. That is not what we have in Minneapolis. And the fact that it's the administration that's being blamed for the utter failure of leadership in Minneapolis is not right. It's not appropriate.
But are
and
you
it's also
saying those
not
officers?
true. I'm very.
And it's crazy how often this keeps happening, dude. Like, it's just, these people don't learn. They want to go out, they want to get in the way, and it's always the Karens are always there. They're pushing whatever BS they support. And it's just really, it's ridiculous. So it's got to stop. But if you're tired of this like I am, follow for more real breakdowns and not the normal mainstream media spin. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.